Hello, everyone. Welcome to Random Encounter 340 or 340. Boy, it feels like it's been a little while since I've been here. I want to thank Zach for hosting our Best of 2025 episode. It was a great episode, and nowadays it feels like there is like a never-ending flood of games coming out. And one of the nice things about the Best of episodes is it kind of gives you an informed opinion, and you can look back on what you missed, what you might want to put to the front of your backlog before the flood begins anew in 2026 with new games. And it already has. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about two games that just came out, both of which are kind of about, I would say cause and effect would be kind of a good way to sum up both games' themes, but in slightly different ways. So first up, joining us today are Audra.
Hello.
And Hilary.
Hi.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about Code Vein 2. Just came out. This is obviously a sequel to Code Vein, and it is a anime-inspired Souls-like. The first one was released in 2019. It was like an anime Souls game, which was at the time a slightly different aesthetic for a Souls game. It was not, the reception it got was not unwelcome, but it was not raved about. It was kind of some people were saying it's pretty much a middle of the road Souls-like. And because of that, Bandai Namco Studios and Shift, they wanted to hopefully get a little bit of a better reception with the sequel, I presume, Code Vein 2. Thus far, they haven't really. The reviews seem to be pretty much dead in line with the original, where it's from what I've seen, it just seems to be people are like, yeah, it's fine, it's good. At some points, it's even great, but it's not like it's not like a Souls game. It's not to those heights. But Audra, you are currently playing it, and I believe you are on the last few bosses now.
Yes. How
would you say like it attempts to build upon or stand out from its predecessor?
Well, actually, I'd never played the original Code Vein, so I'm not quite sure of that yet. I do know it's much more open world. Like they expanded the regions and tried to do more it's like Elden Souls, maybe? No, Elden.
Elden Souls.
I'm not as familiar with Souls-likes, so.
Neither am I. I have an odd feeling that I would either fall in love with them or I would not fall in love with them. The only real Souls-like I've ever actually played, aside from like, I don't know, Hollow Knight, which is not, it's a 2D Souls-like, was Sultan Sanctuary, which I infamously hate. I could not stand that game. I did not like that game. But as I understand it, the open world is actually one of the major draws here, and it's a post-apocalyptic world.
Yes, it's a post-apocalyptic world. Very large areas to explore. You can kind of find hidden areas pretty much anywhere you go in it. And you can even ride a motorcycle if you want, just to get from point A to point B if you really want to in a hurry, which I haven't been using too much. I've just been liking getting on foot so that I can get experience and better learn how to strategies for killing enemies. But
Samus would be proud.
Yes.
Interestingly, from what I've read, the plot of this is not actually dissimilar from Dragon Quest VII in that the current world is kind of like a wreck, and it's a time travel game. You go back into the past to repair the present.
Basically, you have to go into the past in order to... Well, it's pretty much like the world's just gone to heck in a handbasket, basically.
In the game, or
in the game, it's they're about to be pretty much humanity is about to be annihilated.
In the game,
I was about to say, anybody see the news about the doomsday clock?
Oh God!
Yes, I did. Sorry, Audra, please continue.
Okay, so the only thing keeping it at bay at the moment are these seals that these 5 heroic figures in the past like gave up their lives for. And that's breaking. So what they have to do now is, because something's corrupting the seals, they have to go back in time, figure out, like make contact with the heroes of the past. And then to figure out a way to break the seals fully and then kill the hero in the present, because now they're corrupted and now they're causing it to like hasten to its doom.
I'm embarrassed to say this. When you started that sentence and you kept going on about seals, I genuinely, for a couple of seconds, thought you were talking about the animal. And I was that's actually kind of cute that they have these seals that are guard. And then I was like, oh, wait, Jono, you're an idiot. She means actual seals that are closing things.
Like magic seals, sorry.
That's
but magic seals would actually be cute and adorable. I
think magic seals would be a massive improvement. I'm surprised that more RPGs do not include magic seals in them. I personally love time travel. Time travel mechanics and narrative storytelling is one of my favorites, both in movies, television, and certainly video games. Obviously, going back to Chrono Trigger and others, I love cause and effect. I love doing something in the past and seeing how it affects the present in these games. And that, as we said, is a key component of this particular game.
Yes, you have to alter like things just to see how it'll change, like the terrain even. Okay,
cool. Can you give me an example of like what you would say is one of the, without spoilers, one of the more interesting examples of that?
Probably right from the get-go, you have to decide whether or not you want to travel back in time to save someone that you met, like early on, that you kind of befriend in the past. And then you find out that something horrible happened to them by the time the present rolls around. So you have to choose whether or not it would be worth it to alter their fate and try to save them, or kind of let things happen as they naturally occurred. And if you do end up saving this person, it ends up altering the who you actually, like, characters you encounter later in the game and how they'll even react to you.
So again, cause and effect.
Yeah. And it actually will change the terrain a little bit so that it becomes a little easier to navigate at some points.
That's interesting. I wonder if that's could that be a way to control? I don't know if they've done this or not, but could that be a way to basically kind of build a difficulty setting into a genre that generally does not have a difficulty setting? Or is that just like a side effect? You can never tell what is going to happen when you change the past.
They want to reiterate that you never know. So they're like, you could technically make it worse if you go back in the past and play around with things. But then usually it seems like it makes it better. But by that point, you usually end up fighting stronger monsters. You usually end up fighting stronger bosses. So I could see where it could almost make it more difficult.
I watched some of the footage from the game on YouTube just to kind of get a feel for it. And first off, you're dealing with we have a silent protagonist, which is kind of anime RPG-esque staple. And with most of the personality coming from his companion, who is a young girl with time traveling powers. And you can see her heart. Is that it? Or
yes, she has like a huge hole in her chest, and you can see her. She has like a magic glowing heart. And you actually have one too, but it's on your back. So whenever they do a back shot of your character, you see the heart through the back of the outfit.
I think I'd rather have a hole in my back than in my front. I don't know.
It makes for a very interesting design. Like some of the character designs are quite interesting in this game.
How does time travel work in the game? Like obviously Luke has a time traveling power, but how does it work within the game itself?
Basically, you find these points throughout the areas that are like connected to the heroes of the past. And from there, once you find like specific items related to them that like create a link to like what they call their pathos, you can go back in time to an earlier version of that area, like the smaller section of area that hero is focused on. So you can't like jump back to the past and be like, I'm going to go all the way to this other area that I went to before.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with this story whatsoever.
Okay, so the time jumps are localized to the area where you are changing the event. That makes sense since they probably don't want to have to create multiple versions of the open world.
Yeah.
One of the things I noticed when I was watching footage is it seems like, despite this being an open world, it is, how can I put this, a slightly dated open world in terms of mechanics. For example, there are invisible walls instead of there being like, I don't know, Tears of the Kingdom, for example, where you can't leave because there are mountains or there is water. Whereas here, there are invisible walls there, which can cause like falling deaths, things like that, where it seems like you're I have fallen to my death a few times.
is trying to get past, like, I can see if I can jump to this mountain or something. It's like, oops.
Out of curiosity, is death handled like lore-wise in game, but with time travel, or is it just like you die and then you come back without with a narrative reason for it, or is like what's her name, Lou?
Lou, yes.
Yeah, or does like Lou bring you back? Because that would be an interesting little narrative bit.
It's actually not Lou, because sometimes you have different partners than her.
Okay, so
depending
it wouldn't work
on
all
the
the time
story,
if that was
or yeah.
If that was the central conceit that every time you died, you get reset.
So it's basically you find these areas that are like safe points called like mistives.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you activate a mistive, the next time you die, you wake up back at that mistive. And you can like level up there, or change your partners, or change your gear and output and everything so that you can try again.
So the equivalent of bonfires.
Yeah. Basically, it's like a save point kind of relic.
Yeah. Oh, we have so many ways of saying save point nowadays.
Yes. And then you have experience is called haze. And that's like both experience and currency. So you can use it at shops, but then you also want to use it to level your character up. And you have to try to reclaim your lost haze whenever you die.
I really like when they use experience and currency as the same, using the same thing. I like the way it forces you to make choices.
Yeah. I think I've kept like the same weapon that I bought early on in the shop, and I've just been like constantly upgrading it because I keep wanting to be like, I'm going to level.
Okay, let's talk about the bosses then, because that's really the heart and soul of a Souls-like is boss battles,
Yes.
where you have to learn the patterns, you have to learn all of the tells, and you need to grind it out until you can, well, frankly, do it in your sleep if you watch some people on YouTube. I'm assuming that that's pretty much the same thing here.
Pretty much it's rinse and repeat with the boss battles. You kind of throw yourself into it, you die a couple times, or in my case, more than a couple times for a lot of them. And then until you figure out the patterns and how you can best counter them.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing I found about my very limited experience with Souls, like, and watching other people, is it really does have to rewire your brain, because in most other video games, bashing your head against the wall again and again and again, trying to kill a boss, can be very, very frustrating. Like the classic thing, like in the NES, it was impossible. You throw your controller against the screen. With Souls, like, it seems like you have to be able to let that go, and every single run it's not another try. It's another experience. It's another chance to learn. It's another chance to learn. And that's an interesting shift in mindset that I think, actually a positive shift in mindset that Souls-likes have brought to the world of video games.
It can get frustrating even after, if you're like going at the same boss for about hours on end without really. But every once in a while, once you start finding the rhythm and you start like really noticing that you're chipping away at the health, and like each time you're getting that much closer, you kind of like, you get a massive like endorphin rush when you actually finally do beat them. You're like, yes.
I think that's most of the reason why people play Souls, like, is for that good hit at the end there.
Yeah.
How fair are the bosses? Like, are they in Dark Souls? Traditionally, that's one of the most impressive things about it, is even when they're hard, they're pretty fair.
I think they're pretty fair once you kind of figure out the patterns for them. There's actually been a couple that I've managed to kill in one round, or like only 5 or so. So those ones I haven't felt have been like as frustrating. And even the ones where it's like, I just finished one where I was constantly trying to destroy this boss for a really long time. And then I was finally like, you know what, I'm taking a break. I can go and try a different area, and I'll level grind and see if I can't beat some other bosses and gain some experience. And then I came back and actually managed within that hour to beat them.
Yeah, the old go to sleep, wake up, take it out. Yeah, I know that very well, except I know it with blueprints. Slightly different boss battles.
It's definitely my limited experience with Souls-like was a game called Death's Gambit, And I had to try one boss there like about 400 times before I actually won. So I haven't felt that level of frustration yet with Code Vein 2.
I'm glad you're not pulling your hair out over it.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here wondering if I heard that right. Oh my gosh.
No, it was about 400. Yeah, and they...
Ooh. Okay. Yeah, regardless of how well it was designed, I think that my controller probably would be thrown at the screen at that point. So I admire your restraint. Like you said earlier, that Lou is not your only, I guess, companion in this quest. There are other party members. How does that play into combat and fighting?
Basically, you can either assimilate your party member so you can gain like a boost in your own skill levels for a time, or you can have them fight like AI controlled alongside you, which actually I found to be more helpful because not only do they all have their own skills and abilities that are useful in combat, but then they also draw aggro from like the bosses. Mm-hmm. So it gives you some breathing room sometimes, especially when you're needing to figure out the strategies.
Nothing like using your friends as decoys.
Human shields.
Exactly. Human shields, and very well-developed ones at that.
Yes, I think like the story and the characters actually are probably the biggest draw of this one, because no matter how frustrated I would get sometimes with some of the boss fights, I always want to see exactly what's going on with the cast. So
the narrative is driving it forward.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it has a pretty strong narrative. Which is surprising because normally I don't care much for vampire stuff, but I like this one.
They're vampires, so time-traveling vampires?
It's called, they're called revenants, but they're basically vampires.
Okay. Yes, vampires with a serial number file off. If that's the case, then you have your, I guess, other, I don't know if you classify them as party members if they're only showing up in cameo appearances to draw aggro, but how do you develop your characters in this in terms of the upgrade system? So you mentioned like there are weapons. You can obviously equip weapons, and you can level up with the what's the experience called again?
Haze.
Yeah, you can level up with the haze, or you can buy items with it. How does the upgrade system work in the game?
Well, I know for the partner characters, they kind of come equipped with their own skill sets and gear and everything, and they level up along with you. So if you level up, like I'm at level 90 now, if I had a partner character, they would be roughly around level 90 in terms of their skill sets and abilities. And you basically have different weapon types that change like your combat style. I've tried like a couple of different ones, like the twin blades and the great swords, and I was like, I'm just going to go with the one-handed swords. Mm-hmm. Just because I found that they were the easiest to control or the most maybe beginner friendly. And I have like one move that I call like the Shoryuken move. It's like looming slash, but it's basically a Shoryuken that you do with the sword. And that's like my main move. And then I have like a projectile attack and a support based attack, and then another like side combo. And you can attach those. They're called forma to your weapons. And you activate them using button shortcuts as long as you have enough like magic points or Igor for it.
Okay, so there is magic in this game, so you need to... Yeah,
it's basically blood. You basically suck the blood of the enemy.
Okay.
They have like it's kind of like almost... I played God Eater, which is another shift game. And they did a thing where you actually devoured your opponents and you got like extra energy from it. And that's pretty much what they do they call it the jail system here. And it's like it's a weapon that literally will suck the energy from their opponent. And then you can turn it, like you get a certain collection of that for yourself, and then you can actually use the special moves.
In terms of your character, like it's a silent protagonist, is your character the same for everyone, or is there a character creator here?
There is a massively huge character creator.
Ooh, I love customization.
Yes. I think I took about maybe 3 hours at first just creating the character because I had so many options for it. But,
character customization, the first boss in this game, really.
yes. Like, it's a character customizer, and then there's a game with it.
Yeah, that's actually how I feel about some games. I'm like, I don't have a game. I'm going to spend my time here. Let's see how much I can make them look like me.
My character ended up looking a lot like Alyssa from Tekken, the Tekken series. For some reason, I was like, okay.
Neat. We were talking about the open world earlier. I want to bring that back for a second because in open world games, my favorite thing about playing them is a sense of discovery, finding new map markers, revealing, new parts of the overworld, that kind of thing. How does that unfold in this game? Can you access pretty much the entire world right off the bat, or is it slightly gated to make sure there's a sense of progression?
It's slightly gated. You have to, you start off in a small area called Magmel, which is like its own little island that you kind of serves
more
as
shades
like
of Dragon Quest 7.
Yeah. Kind of, it starts as like the tutorial area where you do your first couple of fights and stuff, and you learn about the time travel aspect of the plot. And then from there, following like that event, there opens up a bridge that you can then use to travel to what they call like this area called the Sunken City, which has like the first hero you're supposed to encounter. And you can then go to 2 other areas from the Sunken City if you'd like and meet those 2 areas heroes. And then it opens up once you defeat those 2, you have like the final 2 areas open up. So you have like some freedom of progression, but not everything's opened up as it initially.
I imagine that somewhat limits the freedom that you can use your motorbike with off the top. It seems like the motorbike might be more of an end game item when everything is open to get around.
I think so, although they make the areas pretty huge, so you can actually, if you don't want to run around it, you can always use the motorbike.
Is there quick travel?
There is quick travel between the mistives.
Okay.
Which is very nice.
Yeah, it saves you from having to continuously play through this world.
And then there's different like dungeons, like ruins that you can encounter that you can go down and like fight optional bosses. And there's you can find like things called golden nectars that will increase your regeneration abilities so that you can actually heal more if you need to, which I do. And so there's a lot of stuff to do in the overworld.
It sounds like there's a fair bit of content here. How's the game's performance, out of curiosity? Like you're playing it on PS5?
I'm playing on PS5. It's actually, I mean, the gameplay itself runs pretty smooth. There is like graphical clipping. Especially during cutscenes and everything. Yeah,
I saw that. Somebody, I was watching a clip on YouTube, and someone handed the main character something, and it clipped through their hand clipped right through the sleeve, and I'm like, oh, that's lazy. Come on, we can do better than that, surely. Just change the angle so they're not going through something. Okay, well, I guess that's disappointing. One of the last things I wanted to ask you about is, I'll refer it back to Chrono Trigger, actually. I love Chrono Trigger. I think everyone loves Chrono Trigger. But I think one of the things that people like the most in Chrono Trigger are the side quests, because the side quests, they plays with time travel and cause an effect in a really, really interesting way. And as I understand it, that some of the best parts of this game are the timeline shifting side quests.
Yes, I would definitely say that. I think like getting the opportunity to alter things at times without going into spoilers it's very interesting how it's handled in the plot of the game.
That's a trick. That's a trick with time travel games. Talking about spoilers is tricky because you don't want to ruin it for people. But do you have a favorite side quest that wouldn't be a spoiler? At least not a big one?
A lot of them are like major story stuff.
Okay.
No a lot of the other side quests are like from the present timeline.
Okay.
Only. So, yeah, unfortunately, not really.
That's okay. I was going to ask, the music. How's the music in the game? Hilary's here. We get to talk about music.
Yay.
The music is lovely. It is very lovely. I love a lot of the boss themes that they play. I mean, even when I'm like, no, I can't believe I have to do it again. I'm like, but at least the music's nice.
I imagine that's a very, very important thing when you're playing through a. When you're playing through, the boss theme better not be annoying, because if it is, you're in trouble.
Right. I think that's something important to keep in mind, just for the way a lot of Souls-like games progress, right? Because you might be backtracking, you might be going through that trial and error process and hearing a given track repeatedly
again and again.
For a while.
Well, Audra, thank you very much for, you're still playing through it. How many bosses do you think you have left?
I am still on I got through 3 today, and I accidentally opened up one that like you only get through time traveling if you choose to time travel a lot. And then after that, I have 2 more areas. So hopefully there's not as many bosses in those ones, but
well, we'll see. Souls-likes are hard for a reason, and it sounds like this one is pretty damn hard. The reason why I don't love the genre is I don't think I'm wired like this. I think I much prefer there to be how can I put this? I might as well transition this into the next game we're going to be talking about, because it very much is in this line, which is if I have to face challenges that make me want to throw my controller at the screen, I kind of prefer them to be mental ones.
Oh, yes. That's a good one.
Yeah. And in that spirit, I wanted to pivot to another game where, as I understand it, cause and effect plays quite a major role, and that is the new Inkle game, TR49. So this is an interesting one. Inkle is a developer out of the UK, and they are, I guess, their specialty is narrative design. Like if you had to say what is Inkle known for, it is exceptionally written games, immaculately written games. Their very first title was an adaptation of Around the World in 80 Days, which was called 80 Days, reimagining the Jules Verne classic novel. And since then, they have released adaptations of an RPG series called Sorcery. They've released Heaven's Vault was very, very popular. You had to, a lot of translation in that game. And 2 of my favorite games, the reverse whodunits, Overboard and Expelled. But this is a bit of a departure for them in a lot of ways. Actually, you want to know what? No, it's not, because almost every single one of their games is different. They really don't like to be put in a box, do they, Hilary?
I had that exact same thought as I was writing my review. Yeah.
Yeah. In this particular case, from what I have read, it is set in an alternate reality version of the UK, where there's a war going on, and you are, as I understand it, you're given very, very little context off the top. I played the first 10 minutes of the game and then realized that I burnt myself out so freaking hard on blueprints that my brain just was like, nope, don't want to do this right now. Go play something where you beat things up and come back after that, which I will. But you discover a World War II era computer, which is, there was no computers back in World War II. There was the thing we had before computers. But this is an actual computer, and you are told you have to delete a book.
Not right off the bat, but pretty soon after. And the cool thing about this machine is, I did a little bit of research. They actually aesthetically made it kind of look like some of the decoding machines that would have been period accurate, which is really neat. But the idea is it's like somehow becomes so much more than that, and has kind of like reality bending properties. And all you know is that you are searching through this at first to find some specific information. And then as you're going through, you are finding entries about books. So you figure out that, yes, it is a specific volume that you were trying to find and match and delete. And depending on how you go about searching the entries and things like that, it can kind of change like how fast you figure out your exact objective.
The thing I really like about this game is the aesthetics of the computer itself, and a lot of things is inspired by like the actual code breakers and the machines that were used to break codes in World War II. So while it is science fiction, it is science fiction that is firmly based in a reality. And I love when that kind of thing happens.
Yeah. And I think that plays really, I said this in my review, but I think that plays really heavily into the promotional materials and kind of like the conceptualization phase of the game. From what I understand, the narrative director found a bunch of very peculiar books in a relative's attic, a relative that he strongly suspected worked at Bletchley Park, which is where a lot of this code breaking was happening. And so I guess the inkle staff kind of tried to, he found the symbol TR49, and then he realized he's also a mathematician and I guess consulted on the Imitation Game film. So he was at Bletchley Park, and I think he found that symbol again. So he found these books, and I think the inkle staff kind of looked through them, tried to make some sense out of them, and that process inspired this game.
I know what you're saying, and I want to believe him, but there's a small part of my brain that is saying, is this true, or is this part of the alternate reality that is creating?
Right. That's fair.
Like it's the way he's presenting it is very, very true. And it's like, okay, there's no reason to doubt this man. But at the same time, it's the central, the way he's conceived and everything. It just makes you go, wait a second. Is he like playing into the narrative of the game, or?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So the detective work in this game is really, really interesting, where it's this very old computer, obviously doesn't run Windows, doesn't even run Linux. It is filled with 20th century documents, essays, notes, things like that. But many of them are corrupted, or other ones are in code. And your job is you need to find these codes like TR49, or like 2 letters and then 2 numbers. And you need to be able to find these codes to reference certain materials. And from there, kind of build up your own, I guess, library of how to navigate this computer database, right? Is that it? Because it sounds brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, that basically covers it. What I think is so fascinating about this game is how the game design lets you use your own natural kind of association and deduction processes to make those connections, find those entries. And you might, like, I actually had a colleague try the game to test out how different things were. And it was a very different order and a very different process. So,
well, the idea of the book, you mentioned it, is, this is going to sound very technical for the folks listening to this review, the Whorf-Sapir hypothesis, which when I looked it up, I was like, oh, linguistic relativity. That's an interesting point of view. And it is how, I guess, literature and cultural perceptions affect the surrounding world.
Yes.
And that is a really cool concept because in this game, as we mentioned, you can delete books. Like I mentioned off the top, cause and effect seems to be playing a pretty big role in this game. Mm-hmm. Now, don't tell me if this is actually, this might be a big enough spoiler. I've just put it together. I'm assuming that the reason you want to delete this book is to change the world. This book will have changed the world in some way, and by deleting it, it theoretically will prevent the war. Would that be?
Yeah. I mean, there are more specifics about what it did. But having this volume uploaded and certain people having access to it caused major, essentially like war-related problems.
One of the things that I like most about the look of this game is, I mean, let me put it this way. It's not what you would call a graphic powerhouse, but it's not supposed to be. Very well designed. It looks very, very, it looks gorgeous in the way it's designed, but it's designed to be somewhat static in a way. Like you're kind of just sitting in front of this ancient computer for a great deal of the game. And does that get boring? Do you wish there was ever, I guess, a little bit more dynamic action happening?
That is something that I thought about as I was playing it. It wasn't really much of a problem for me going through it because I was so actively thinking through a bunch of possibilities at any given point, and the pace, it is sort of static visually, but you're also like going back and forth and checking your notes and moving through ideas at a pretty fast pace. So I actually, in a lot of ways for me personally, I feel like it was kind of a good balance, honestly.
Well, the thing that really got me when I first saw the game, you mentioned that the novels that are quote unquote fake. The covers of these novels, it's seen in the promotional material. I think it's called, I'm looking at it here, Hammerstone Classics, which is, it's very, very clearly a Penguin classic book, like the classic image on front, white band, name of the book underneath it. Like it's a very iconic looking design. And that really caught my attention. Like the idea of these, I guess, fictional books that are like presented as if they are the real books in our world. I love that a lot, actually.
Absolutely. That's really what drew me to it in the first place and said, okay, yes, I'm going to review this, even though I don't usually review things.
Well, it's an inkle game.
That too.
Yeah. It's so interesting. Inkle games, even when this is from what, I mean, you gave it a good review, but like even when inkle games aren't great, they do something that other games don't. And that just makes them inherently interesting to me.
Yeah.
This game is really self-directed, open-ended. Like you go in, you kind of have to figure out what you're doing yourself based on trial and error and noticing clues and putting things together. It's intentionally limited, I believe. Like there are constraints regarding the settings and character interactions, specifically your handler, I guess.
So his name is Liam, and kind of consistently with what we've been saying so far, you don't know a lot about him at first. But the game starts with him just kind of like instructing you basically in getting the machine started. And he's the one you learn your objective from. And you will learn a little bit more about him as you go along and learn more about the people who created the machine.
The game is kind of described as like a midway point between an audio drama and a video game. How is the acting here? Because I'm assuming the conversation between Liam and your character, Abby, it's pretty core to the actual experience.
Yeah, it is. I thought it was really well done. It's interesting how sparse it is at times, but I think it's well performed. There are a couple more tense moments that come up, and I think that's where you really get to see how good the acting is. So yeah, overall, I was impressed. You
mentioned in the review occasionally entering into a flow state, which is a really nice state of being to be in. I love being in a good flow state. The game facilitates that, or is it just that you manage to, like, let me put it this way. Is it a matter of would other players get a flow state, or are you just really good at code breaking?
And I don't think I can fairly say that about myself, but
I don't know. I could see you breaking codes in World War II.
Oh, wow. I will take that as one of the nicest and most unique compliments I've had in a while. I think it's more about the process of finding those associations that really put me into that kind of state. So going back and forth between entries, finding the little pieces of information that lead you to new pieces of information, digesting the new piece of information, seeing where else that gets you, and kind of mapping everything out mentally. That really is a process that accomplished that for me. And I think, that will depend on what's going on around you, right? Are there distractions? How quickly are you making those connections? Because if you're not making them quickly, and I had times in the game when I got stuck and I wasn't making those connections, but when I was able to do it consistently, it really did feel like there was a nice flow to it, just going back and forth and kind of continuously finding new things.
Would you say that your experience with this game would be representative of everyone's, or do you think that other people would play the game very differently based on how they would interpret the codes?
I think different people will change the order of information, and they might slow down at different points, but overall I think like the information itself is not going to change much. So I think it's kind of a similar experience, but it absolutely will change based on that order of things. In terms of enjoyment, I definitely would say it's not for everyone. You really do need to sit and focus and slow yourself down. And, different people have different comfort levels with that. I know sometimes it was easier for me than others. So if you're able to be in that place, it's a wonderful experience, but not one everyone would necessarily enjoy.
I totally get that. I think that, I think I'm going to be a person who really clicks with this game once I'm able to click with it, once I get in that good headspace. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm going to reference back to my compliment to you a few minutes ago, because you mentioned there are quite a few female characters in this game, and that actually is a reference, I guess, back to historical reality of code breaking and intelligence work.
Yeah, I really appreciated that, because there really were a lot of females looking at the data. I know a lot of the big name code breakers we think of were male, like Turing, but yeah, there were lots and lots of women at Bletchley Park interpreting the data, intercepting communications, and lots of different roles actually. And, also some of the higher level code breaking too.
Yeah, it's quite a historic, the story is amazing. And I like that this game references that in various ways, calls back to it, which seems to be the central premise of this game, is calling back to this very real historic event, but then putting a sci-fi twist on it. I guess the last thing I wanted to ask you is about the fake books, the authors and books that never existed. The key to this working, I would imagine, is to create a feeling of authenticity around these books. And I think it would start with actually the covers being a reference to Penguin classics. How authentic do you think this game is? I know it's fiction, but how authentic do you think it feels and creates the reality around it?
As someone who was in a lot of literature classes, I loved it, actually. The summaries, I loved the people, the family who created and kind of worked on the machine has commentary around the books. Occasionally you're going to comment you would have hated this, or you would have loved this, or this is bonkers, which is really fun. But it also, there are also excerpts, which are really fun, and I think add to that kind of feeling of authenticity. You get a block quote here and there when you find a new title. And something that really helps you understand the relationship between a lot of the books is there are a couple, there are entries for Hammerstone Press, which is a publisher, but also an academic journals. So you can kind of figure out a little bit about the relationships between these authors and, how things were received and when in their lives they wrote these things and what was going on for some of them. So from that perspective, it's easy to get into.
I really want to play this, and talking to you about it has just reinforced that. It's a game, it's probably the first game of 2026 that I've actually been really excited about, because it just looks like it's right up my alley. And that's saying something, because I have quite a few games left over from 2025 that I need to play. So I'm going to push this up the backlog a fair bit to get to it. Audra, you were on the 2025 episode, last episode, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if it was the random or retro. I wasn't quite sure, remembered.
It used to be retro. Now we're doing it at random. You get to focus on some of your favorites of 2025. Just real quick, I wanted to toss one or two of mine out there, just because I can, because it's my show. Early in the year, Expelled came out last year, the other Inkle game that I was talking about. Wonderful, wonderful game, just terrific. Two puzzle games, but real narrative deduction games, Seance at Blake Manor and Blueprints, both of which are just genius. And some exceptionally good adventure games came out last year. Old Skies was great. Kathy Rain 2 was a great follow-up. I just finished playing my first playthrough of Dispatch, and holy crap, I love it. Oh my God.
Yay!
It's so damn good. I loved it. I just loved it.
So much fun with that game.
Yeah, Audra, you got to play it. You just got to play it.
I do want to. Yeah.
You'll love it. It's so good. It's so good. Okay. Hill, is there any game that you want to shout out from 2025?
You got one of them.
Expelled. Yeah.
Yep. But also Dispatch. Oh, geez. I'm trying to remember exactly when it came out. And I know a lot of people were playing it when it came out. And it's not exactly within our coverage, but it's related to books. So I'm going to go ahead and mention Tiny Bookshop. Also because they released an update with a bunch more books.
Neat. Okay, well, 2025 is over, and it was quite a year. And it's safe to say that January 2026 has been a month. And I think it's safe to say that it will continue to be a month in the one day we have left in it. And there is some bad news coming out all over the place. But one thing hit me today, and that was Catherine O'Hara dying. And by the time you hear this, it's going to be a few days after that. It's Friday right now, so I'm hoping you are listening and you weren't finding out like this. I think that Catherine O'Hara wasn't just one of Canada's greatest actors. I think she was just one of Canada's greatest humans, and even that is selling her short. She is brilliant in literally everything she's done: drama, comedy, certainly improv. Most people probably know her from like Home Alone, Kevin, or Schitt's Creek. Hilary and Audra, I was hoping to ask if you have any favorite performances of hers in a movie or anything really that you'd like to share, simply because, yeah.
Schitt's Creek actually was pretty awesome, her role there.
Yeah, Schitt's Creek is great.
Yes.
That might have been the last piece of Canadian pop culture to really break through into America. The current being the very, very different heated rivalry. But that was something that really connected with a lot of people, Americans, Canadians, and everyone else around the world. It was just a brilliant, brilliant show. And it really spotlighted her talents in a way.
Yes.
That made the show even better. Hill?
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to lean on my very positive early childhood memories and say Beetlejuice and Nightmare Before Christmas.
I can't disagree with those. I watched Beetlejuice for the first time last year.
Really?
I just missed it. Yeah, I missed it completely. It's one of those 80s movies that I did not see. I remember seeing the box as a small child in the video store and being like, why doesn't Alec Baldwin have a head? And that scared me as when I was a very little boy. It didn't scare me off the movie for years after that. But Amanda and I watched it at the cottage last year, and we really it was a very interesting film. And I saw the sequel at the drive-in last year in New Glasgow, Beetlejuice, and again, she was wonderful in it.
I still need to see that. She's
real good in it. Real good time to see it. For me, my favorite performances of hers are in a series of Christopher Guest mockumentaries, Waiting for Guffman, A Best in Show, and A Mighty Wind. All of them are, to say they're brilliant mockumentaries is not giving them enough credit. Like they perfected the genre. Waiting for Guffman is the most accurate portrayal of community theater ever put on film. So much so that I wanted to hide behind the couch at points just because I was cringing internally so much, because I was like, oh my God, I know every single one of these people. And I think I was one of them. And she was brilliant as like an amateur performer who constantly gets the leads in these community theater shows. If anyone's looking for some great performances of hers, obviously Schitt's Creek, Beetlejuice, and everything that she was in with Christopher Guest that's a pretty good list. Yeah, I saw it earlier today, and I mean, there has been so much bad news this month, and even this for me just broke through. And my response to it, I was surprised at how much it hit me. I was just sitting here and I said, that sucks. That just really sucks. It's not in the same league, of course, as journalists being arrested or innocent protesters being shot. But sometimes something like that hits you and you're just like, oh my God, that sucks so much. And this sucks. She was so good. And you can see it based on the reaction online. Everyone, the outpouring of love for this actor. And I just wanted to briefly talk about that. No transition this time because it would be disrespectful. If you're looking for a way to support us here at RPG Fan, we've opened a store, and you can find that at www.rpgfan.com/shop. Obviously, we have like t-shirts, mugs, all the kinds of things. I think we have some new stuff coming out later this year, so keep an eye on that. We'll tell you when it does. Another way you can support us is to check out past episodes of Random Encounter. And as I mentioned earlier, Zach took on our Best of 2025 episode. Audra was on it. So if you haven't listened to that, it should be the episode right below this one. So you could just keep listening after this episode is done, and there's a good chance that it might start. And speaking of Zach, we also have a Retro Encounter. And last week's episode was focused on the games that the panel thought deserves a perfect score. So each panelist brought a game that they thought is a perfect 10 out of 10 game. And of course, that causes some discussion. And we also have Rhythm Encounter. And our last episode was focused on the best music of 2025. And boy, there was a lot of it. I edited this episode and I enjoyed every second. The conversation was great. The music in the episode is just so great.
It was a great year.
It was a great year for music. It was a great year for video games. It was a great year for music. It just wasn't a great year in many other ways. But in our very limited world, it was a good year last year. Okay, well, if you'd like to get in contact with us here at Random Encounter, you can do so by firing us off a message at podcast@rpgfan.com. If you have any ideas for future discussion questions, if you have an episode theme, anything like that, please drop a line, give me a heads up. If you'd like to send me an email directly, you can do so at jlogan@rpgfan.com, or you can also find me at johnologan.bluesky.social. I'm not the only person on here with a social media presence. Audra, where can we find you?
Audra B at rpgfan.com.
Awesome. And Hill?
Best way to reach me is rpgfan email, Hilary A at rpgfan.com.
Cool. If you enjoyed this podcast, you can help us by giving us a rating. You can share it with your friends. You can write a review. There are lots of ways that you can help support us on this podcast, and I would very much appreciate if you did. Audra and Hilary, thank you very much for giving me your Friday night. I really appreciate it. Friday nights are it's a time for partying and going out to clubs, and I know that both of you are really into that, just like I am.
Oh yes.
Yep, that's what I am. I'm usually tearing it up on the club floor on Friday nights. But no, I'm spending it talking to you two about time travel and fictional books. And to be completely honest, I would much rather be doing this. So thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it. And everyone out there, thank you very much for joining us. And whatever you're playing, have fun.